Video 2. So you might have, if you've done video 1 correctly, you should have something looking vaguely like this, and you'll probably be cursing me because I didn't, although I told you to make this one 40 and these two 20, I didn't tell you how far out to make them, so I was hoping you just make your own judgment there. However, I deliberately didn't tell you because I want you all to get in the habit of being able to modify drawings that you've made. Right, the correct way to work in SolidWorks is, if you say you wanted to make this longer or bigger, you shouldn't draw over the top of it. What you should do is go back and modify where you drew this drawing. And I'm going to show you how to do that now. So that's where this whole thing on the left comes into use, okay? If it doesn't look like this, by the way, just click the little Lego brick shape thing up there. And you'll see if you hover over each of these, you'll see it highlights different parts of your model. And it's done in chronological order as well, so it's done in the order that you drew things. So if I wanted to modify the size of this guy here, and actually I do, because I made this one 45 and I told you to make this one 40, and I want it to match. So let's go find it in the history. So it turns out it's Boss Extrude 3. What we do, click the little arrow and you'll see Boss Extrude 3 consists of sketch number 4. And if you click on sketch 4, you'll see all those dimensions you put back in way back. Now what's cool here is you can just double click on that dimension. You don't even have to go into the sketch. Type 45, which is what I wanted it to be. Click the tick. You'll see the sketch is updated. And you can just click the tick. And nothing appears to have changed with the model though. It still seems a bit thin. That's because you see this little traffic light picture. It's saying you need to do an update. Go up to the top and click the traffic light. And there we go. It's updated. Okay. I'm now going to make you go and change these guys. There's been a design change. The client now wants these bits 30mm. So we're going to go and find those two. So Boss Extrude 4, expand it. There's the sketch. Click on it. I wanted to make that 30. So change it to 30, click tick. Okay, click the tick over here to say you're done with the dimension tool. And before I click update, I'm going to go and do the same to Boss Extrude 5. So expand it. There's the sketch. So spin our view round. This is why I said manipulating your view is useful. Remember, click and hold the middle mouse button. So want to make this 30, change it to 30, hit enter. Okay, good. Now weirdly it's updated itself there. Okay, if in any doubt, click the traffic light. Okay, and we are done. So we've got 2 circles at 40, 2 at 30. Now what happens if you made these longer or shorter? You can also modify that. I'm just going to collapse these again. Say I wanted these guys, at the moment I've made them 25. I now want them to be 50 long. Go and find them. But this time, remember, you're not going to be modifying the sketch because the bit where we made it 50 was actually where we turned it into an extrusion. So instead what we do is, rather than go and find the sketch, we just right click on it and you've got this little option that says edit feature. You'll see if it does that, it brings you back to this menu. You can change your size here, so say 50, click the tick, there we go. So go ahead and do that to the other side. There we go, that one. Remember, it's not the sketch we want to modify, it's the whole feature, so it's right click, edit feature, this top left one. Change it to the size you want, 50, and click the tick. Done. Right, now I know you may be getting a bit bored and going, oh great, I want to build something more interesting than this, but you can't run until you can walk. And what I have to show you with SolidWorks, otherwise it will eternally frustrate you, is the correct way of working, all right? If you can't draw basic extrusions and cuts, and if you can't go and modify what you've already made, and if you can't use dimensions, you won't be able to do any of the other things that I need you to going forward, okay? So please persevere. Right, final thing, so now we've modified that, make sure yours is the same. We're going to mess around with some of these other feature tools, okay? So if you can't see that, make sure you're on the feature tab. Now, we'll touch on these ones today. We're just going to look at fillet and chamfer, which are quite useful. So if you click fillet, it does what the picture suggests. It will put a rounded curve on an edge. And the size of that curve in millimeters is determined by the number you type in this box. So for instance, if I pick the top of there, now it may not show anything, okay? That's because you have to tick full preview. There you go, and that will show you kind of what it's going to do. So that's what 10mm fillet would look like. If I change it to 5 and click, you'll see it's much smaller. if you try and change it to something too big, so this is 45, if I make it 50, you'll see even with preview turned on, nothing appears. Essentially, if nothing appears, it means it can't actually make that fillet, because what you're asking it to do is cut away more material than actually exists on that shape. So use that as a guideline. Make sure with preview on, so even 40 it can't handle, 30 it can't handle, that's because it's a radius. So the biggest if this is 45 diameter, radius would be 22.5. So the biggest we should be able to do is 22.5. There we go. And that would basically make it a hemisphere. Okay. So I want you to do that. Make a hemisphere on one side, 22.5. You'll see if I do 22.51, look, I don't like it. It will only make objects that it can fit. Okay. Click tick when you're happy. Good, good. And I want you to put a 10mm fillet on this one. So rotate your view around, fillet tool. You can type your number before you go, so I'm going to make that 10. Select the top edge. And while we're at it, I also, before you click the tick, I also want you to put a fillet on this bottom corner here. And you'll see that does quite a cool effect there. That spreads it out and blends it in. Click the tick. Now that's a really useful tool as an engineer, because sharp right angle corners like this, where snaps can happen, a good engineer will always put fillets in the corners, because it means it's less likely to break at the corner. It kind of spreads the load out. All right, so we've done 2 fillets. What we're also going to do now is put in some chamfers. Now you'll find the chamfer tool under here. Click the little drop down arrow. Chamfer is like a fillet, but it just cuts it off at a 45-degree angle, or an angle of your choice. And then yeah, you can see the result really. So again, make sure preview's selected. If you put a 10mm chamfer on here, it will have that effect. Obviously, if you typed 5, it will have that effect. You can also change the angle. So if I typed in a 10-degree angle, you'll see we've got a very, very subtle chamfer. All right. Likewise, if you typed in a much steeper angle, 70, okay, we've almost made a cone. If you want it equal, well, that would be a 45-degree. That way you're traveling the same distance this way as you are that way. So I want you to put a 5mm 45-degree chamfer on that one. And on this side, I want you to put so let's do chamfer again. So choose what you want. I want this one to be 30 degrees and 15mm. Okay, so we've got a much pointier cone. Click the tick when you're done. Good job. Right, your final task, and I'm going to leave you solo to do this. I want you to put a 2mm fillet around the whole perimeter of the hexagon. Okay, but I want you to do it on both sides. You can select multiple things, remember. So I'm going to start, you can do fillet, and you can just pick one edge, two edge. Okay, if by the way you pick stuff and it all starts going wrong and you're like, oh, don't panic, just go over here in this blue box and just clear selections, and that will unselect everything, or you can delete individual ones. So I said 2mm, and you can pick, look, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, just be very careful where you're clicking, because if you misclick, look, you can accidentally do the entire face. However, that's not an issue. If you didn't want that, just delete face 1, look, and now you're back to where you were. Okay, so 2mm fillet that one, do a 2mm fillet on this side, and then that will do for video number 2. So just to, all I want you to do again is take a screenshot of this with all the fillets I've made and upload it into your OneNote underneath video 2 to prove you've done it, and just play. All right, might be a good idea to save your work now, so save as. I don't care where you save it for this lesson. We'll talk about saving etiquette in a future one, but yeah, save your work, have a play, and what we have learned is how to modify our drawing, how to add fillets and chamfers, and in fact that modifying thing's really, really powerful. It kind of, everything stays tied together. So just one last thing to show you, if I decided again this needed to be longer, I can go and modify it, and this little cone thing will still stay put where I put it. So let's go back in our history. Here we go. So it's extrude number 4 I want to change. If I right click and edit the feature, say I wanted it 75 long, press the tick, you'll see it all updates and that thing still stays on the end. Equally, if I change the sketch and made it bigger, so go in, find the sketch, let's make it 40 diameter. Okay, you'll see the chamfer follows it. All right, so it's very, very powerful, and the program's designed to work that way. You will run into problems if you just keep adding things to drawings rather than fixing the mistakes as you go and modifying what already exists. And you have to trust me on that. 15 years of experience messing with these programs. There's a right way to do things and a wrong way. Okay, good. Save that and then on to video 3.